Okay. Yeah, this took me a second to get to, guys. I apologize. I've been on phone calls all day. I just got back from New York and I had to push back a lot of my coaching calls. So I've been on coaching calls for the past 2 days nonstop. But at this point forward, I'll be working on content after this video. I'll be editing some of my clients' photos, making sure they're all good. And then after that, I'm going to be finishing a video for tomorrow, which I'm working a lot on the quality of the content. It's going to be a lot more editing than usual. I'm trying to make them a lot more. Okay, I'm not really sure if YouTube just started it over. I'm hoping it didn't just start the video over. That annoys the crap out of me. So a lot of you guys don't do YouTube. The lives, they'll say that it's live for a second, then I end up talking, and then it starts over, and then it says, now you're live. So I don't know if that's a thing. For any guys who do YouTube, let me know. But I'm going to give it a second for people to roll in. Yeah, so just got back from New York, had a really incredible boot camp out there. Honestly, some of my favorite, one of my favorite boot camps. The guys that were on the boot camp were fucking incredible, hustlers, empathetic, caring, while also being smart and intelligent. Some of them might be watching this video here in the future. You guys did fucking incredible. I still have to do some follow-up calls with two of them. And I still have to send them their photos from the boot camp as well. So guys, I'm working on it tonight. If you guys do watch this video after this, that's the first thing I'm working on before I knock out the content for tomorrow. So if you guys watch this in the future and you guys see this, just letting you know the photos are going to be edited up tonight. But yeah, this video right here is going to be mainly for anybody who has any questions, anything they want to know. This is free advice. Okay. I've been a coach now for 13 years. I've been in this industry for a long time. I've approached over 30,000 women at this point. I've coached thousands of in person or over phone calls. And I have millions of views. I have a lot of views through TikTok, through YouTube. On YouTube, I have, I think, like 4 million views. And on TikTok, I have 6 million, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it is late as fuck at night. So I don't know how many people are really going to show up for this call, because it is 10:30 and I'm in PST time. And a lot of my followers are in the United States. And the guys in New York right now, I think it's like 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning for guys in New York. So I'm kind of honestly having my audience, but yeah. If it don't, and nobody has any questions, I'm just going to rant about game for a while. Honestly, some things I've been working on, maybe some things that I've been developing in my own self and mindsets that I've been working on, or coaching advice that I've developed over the past couple months. But if anybody has any questions, don't feel free to ask. Jump in there. Don't be afraid to ask anything. Yeah, but if you are being, here's the thing though, if you are being a dick, I will call you out for it. But yeah, as long as you're courteous and you're cool and you're being cognizant, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, like I said, it's like literally the middle of the night for most people in most places, especially people who watch my channel. I don't expect a lot of people to show up to this just because it is such a weird time. But I'm nocturnal because of my job, men's dating coach. My job is to take guys out to clubs, teach them how to be attractive to girls, and that naturally makes it to where I am a nocturnal motherfucker. I wake up at 3 p.m. I generally stay up till like 6 or 7 p.m. Just working. So, and I also do have a lot of clients in Europe right now, which means that I have to stay up till late. I have a call, honestly, with a guy in Greece at 1 p.m. tonight, and I have another call with a guy at 2 a.m. In Greece. Hey, guys. Yeah, as people roll into the video too, don't be afraid to ask any questions. Whatever you guys got. This is a free. This is free advice. Here's the one thing I will say though: if you're here for free advice, make sure to like the video. Okay, it's free advice. At the very least, like the video so that I do have something back on this. Like at the very least, I mean, if you guys been watching my channel, you've been having a lot of growth, you've been evolving, you've been improving from the advice I give you. At the very least, like the video. Yeah, I just saw somebody like the video. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I know nobody knows to do this either. You guys don't do what I do for a living. So it's like, it doesn't make sense for you guys to know that, really, honestly. I need to be a little bit more, I need to speak up a little more on lives. Usually because I'm naturally codependent and I feel very, what's the word for this? I feel very blessed to have you guys watching me on this channel. And I feel bad for asking you guys for anything like that. Avery, though, AG has been getting on me about that. He's been telling me to like mention it to you guys more often. So I'm trying to get better about that. So a couple of you guys already asked some questions. So I'll answer these right now as people, keep throwing them in. What's your process for when a girl doesn't respond to push, pulls, and tease? And is it non-responsive, but you really want to create some kind of attraction? Honestly, I think that the girl feels that you're pushing buttons. So if a girl feels you're pushing buttons, and she recognizes the game, if she's becoming non-responsive, she's probably picking up on the fact that you're coming across as incongruent and that you're not being yourself. I mean, there's one or two directions you go with this. Either you become a better actor or you become the person who would naturally do that in a conversation. But if you're going to do push pulls and you want to do it as a tactic, you have to become a better actor. The girl that that became non-responsive probably picked up on the fact that you came across as disingenuous. And so once you came across disingenuous and she recognized you're pushing buttons, she realized that you're playing a game, and then she got very disinterested very fast, is my 2 cents. How long have you been gaming for, out of curiosity? Because I'm curious. And like, what have your results been? And here, I'll answer the next question, but when you get around to it, I'd like to know that answer. That also will change my response to that question. So here, you just let me know, and I'll give you some advice on that. How much does race matter in dating? I'm an Indian guy and I feel hopeless. If you feel hopeless, I think it's the more the feeling hopeless part that's actually affecting you. I have a lot of friends who are Indian guys who crush with women. It's not going to stop you. However, if you do have, the one thing that I could say is the accent, because, all right, so here's the thing. So there actually is an ism involved in this. So if you want to feel like a victim, I got you. By the way, I'm massively joking, but I'll put it this way. In regard to being an Indian, most guys who come from, so a lot of the culture, so for example, China, Japan, India, they're very out of their depth in dealing with Western women because, one, Western women are more into hyper masculine guys because we're in a all right. So one, we don't have a nucleus family. Like India has a very nucleus family where you guys live together a lot longer than Americans do. We kick our kids out at 18, at 16, and you're supposed to fend for yourself. And we're also expected to get our own wives. We're expected to get our own girlfriends, and we have to develop that skill. And if you're from India, your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, your great great grandparents were all in arranged marriages to unite families and whatnot, and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. So you don't have a role model to help you out. And also too, there are some times where like royalty moves to America and they expect to be treated like royalty, or they feel like that. In India, they are looked up to, but they come to America and they don't have that effect, but they still have that arrogance, along with also not having the social acuity to deal with Western women, as well as not, how do I put it? Like, it's the women in India are a lot more modest, whereas our women are a lot more loose. And a lot of Indian people don't know how to handle that. And basically, like, you guys lack a certain skill and a certain type of knowledge that would help you out in this situation. And then what that does is a lot of Indian guys, they're like first generation Indian in America. They are completely out of their depth in regards to women. So then they approach a lot of girls, and every time a girl gets approached by Indian guy, the Indian guy is weird and not socially adept, which is not what a girl wants in Western culture. And it creates a bad taste in her mouth. And then it creates like a form of ism where she expects every Indian guy that approaches her to be weird. But here's the thing. If you're a cool guy, you overpower that. She doesn't actually even consider you an Indian guy anymore. She considers you your own person. But right now, with that whole situation, I'll put it this way. We'll focus on that which you have control over. And if you do have an accent, fix it. Just because, I mean, why make this harder than it has to be? Honestly, if you had good game, that wouldn't be an issue. But if you're not getting the results you want yet, that's not. You want to develop things outside of game that also make you feel confident, because you're going to have it, unless you get coaching or something like that. I can help you out further from there, but hit every angle you can. It's going to be a long journey, and do not compare yourself to anybody else. Compare yourself to you. And by focusing on you being Indian as a leveling factor, I thought I had leveling factors back when I was younger. I had dozens of limiting factors that I thought I thought that it was impossible to get good at this. Now you guys look at me, you guys like, there's no way that you ever was not good with girls. No, I was so bad. It was like horrendous. Like, I'd cry type of shit. I remember my high school sweetheart, I approached 3 years afterwards, after I've been gaming for like 2 years. And I remember her and her friends pointing and laughing at me, being like, what the fuck? Ha 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 ha. And I'll put it this way. Don't focus on what you don't have control over, because that's gonna expand that. Focus on what you do have control over, which is a lot. And by a lot, I mean like hundreds, if not thousands, of different points of of conjecture that you can control. And by focusing on being Indian, you're taking away that energy that you use to fix the situation. And that honestly exacerbates the issue. It won't prevent you from getting good at this. It won't. It won't. So I'll put it that way. It's a big deal to people who have bad game. Not a big deal, but it's a deal to people that don't have good game. But once you develop a good game and you develop good social skills, it's not going to stop you, and it's not going to prevent you. It's not even going to affect you. But when you don't have those social skills in place, it will affect you. It's a difference. It's logical versus emotional attraction. You lack the logical attraction. You also don't have emotional attraction because you don't have good game yet. And so the only thing you do have is logical attraction, which is not very good yet because you're not fitting the archetype of what a girl assumes would be a guy who's good with game. But here's the thing. I've dated girls where I'm not their type. And obviously, I worked on my fashion a lot. You guys have seen me over the course of years looking like a dork to work on my fashion, to work on this shit. Like I just did this last week. I just bought this hat. I didn't look like this last year. I didn't look like this. I didn't look like the same way a year ago. I worked on this over time. Try to, as best you can, fit the archetypes so you have that logical attraction. Change yourself. Try to mimic the guys that have the results of the women you want as best you can until you get the game in place, until you get the social skills in place. Yeah, here. That was a long-winded answer. It's very complicated. It's a very complicated answer. And honestly, if you want to move away from it more, yeah, develop an American accent. You have no accent? Yeah, then that's the biggest thing, honestly, is the accent. Just because it's like the guys that have the accent oftentimes are first generation or literally just got off the boat from India, and they have it the worst in regards to talking to girls because they have no skills. They come from a place where they don't talk to girls. You're not allowed to talk to girls. And so as you can imagine, they're very creepy, and it's not their fault either. It's just they don't know how to communicate to women in a place where you're allowed to approach them. Where in American culture, Western culture, it's allowed. You can talk to whoever the fuck you want. Let's see. And here, I'll read the rest of yours too. I'm going to read the two right below you, and then I'll jump back to it for you too. Just because there's a lot of questions that popped into the thing while we were talking. So I'm going to get to them, but as I see your questions and you adding to it, I'll jump back into it and I'll help you out with that. Okay. How can I spend less time gaming? I used to do 2 to 3 hours daily just to approach 3 to 5 girls with friends. Oh, you're doing day game then. I'm assuming you're doing day game. But you can also approach, here's a funny thing. You can improve your game, not just with approaching girls, but also approaching guys. Passing compliments. Yo, bro, love your hat. That's sick. No worries. Have a good day. And sometimes you'll even guys actually have a lot more value for us than girls do. Girls have really good short-term value. I mean, you fuck a girl, you date her. That's cool. But there's guys like me, for example, who have a lot of female friends, who have a lot of high quality friends. You make it if you approach me in the streets, give me a pass compliment, and somehow we became friends. Suddenly now you're my social circle. Suddenly you're talking to the same guys I am. Suddenly you're talking to the same girls I am. And suddenly you're friends with the same girls. So also give passing compliments to guys too. Don't just approach girls. And if it is day game, that's why you're only approaching 3 to 5 girls. You want to go to a venue, preferably, where you're approaching more girls, unless you're in the early stages learning game where you're trying to get your approaches down and you're very nervous about approaching. That's a different situation. That's a different story. You got to build it up over time. What do you do when a girl doesn't qualify? Tease her again and try to provoke her emotions, or treat it as a shit test, for example? If she says there's nothing cool about me, I'm a very boring person. If a girl doesn't qualify, I mean, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. The girl doesn't know you that well yet. Sometimes girls have to invest more, and girls upfront, girls have an easy time with the upfront. So the upfront is not that valuable to them, which means that what I mean by that is the short, you probably had in a club before where a girl likes you and then you walk away. They're just making out with another guy as if nothing happened, where you treated like a very big deal. Girls have very easy time getting initial attraction from guys, but a hard time tying them down. That's when the girls really are chasing. If you get girls qualifying and you get them qualifying pretty regularly, honestly, you're probably pretty advanced at game. I wouldn't put too much pressure on girls qualifying. Honestly, just if you're in this place and I'm assuming that you're probably low intermediate to intermediate at this. And if that's the case, just play the numbers. Roll the dice. Every time you approach, if the girl doesn't like you, she doesn't like you. On to the next. Just get the numbers in, and then over time, write the field reports. Think critically. Is there a different version of me that would do even better with girls than I do? Is there something that I can do to increase my results? Think about what you have control over, not what you don't. And over time, you'll get to the place where a lot of girls do qualify to you because of the person you are. You guys see me the way I move and speak, and the way that I've improved this over time, the way that I become more verbose, the way that I become better at explaining these concepts, the way that I have refined this stuff. It comes from field reports. So really hit that hard. I know it's probably every video I mentioned that, but it's that big a deal. It's big enough deal for me to mention every video. So, especially if you don't have a coach. If you don't have a coach, you have to become your own coach and you have to get good at it, because if not, you're going to ingrain bad habits. And you're also going to get to that point where you're like gaming for 10 years and you're like, why am I not improving? It's because you're doing the same thing every day and you're not learning from your mistakes. So you got to learn from your mistakes. Born and raised in America, I have no accent. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's also a factor that you're to be fair too. All right. So so I'm assuming you're first generation. Third generation Indians don't have any problem with this. It's second and first generation that have an issue with this because their dad and their parents, that's their role models and who they learn from. You still develop their mannerisms, their way of moving, even if you don't have the accent. And it's also too that your dad has nothing to teach you about talking to girls because, again, he comes from a culture where you don't have to do that. And by the way, for anybody who's just jumping in, I'm talking to my boy here. He's from India, and he's afraid that being Indian is going to affect him. It's not going to affect him the way he thinks it is, and it's also not going to stop him from getting good. The big thing is it's going to stop him early on. So without an accent, though, you don't have an issue. Without an accent, that's not a problem. Honestly, it's mainly probably your mindsets and beliefs around women that are stopping you. You got to think, how does a high-quality guy think about women, and how does he, like, a lot of guys that, like, you probably have a lot of negative feelings about women. And that's the self is always coming through. And when you have negative feelings towards women, it oftentimes coming from a place of you not doing good with them. There are some guys from absolute misogynists that kill it with women, but you and me both are not that person. That's a very rare kind of guy. And also too, it's like kind of it's not optimal either. So anyways, I've said enough about that. So I'll let that go. Now I'm going to go on a tangent, and nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see Tangent King at play. When I'm in the club at the end of the night, I can't remember most of my sets to break down any tips. What is something that you practiced that led you to the most results? That feels like a two-part question. I'm going to answer the first one. I'm pretending like these are two different questions. I'm going to answer both. So I'm really good at remembering sets because I did write field reports and I did work to remember my sets at the end of the night. I did actually have one point where I had a little notebook and I put it in my back of my pocket. And every time I finish up an interaction, I pull it out really quick, flip it open, write down like eye contact. I write down eye contact because I didn't have good eye contact. I had bad dominance. I was not very masculine. I wasn't very still. I was nervous. And I write down one or two things. I'd be on to the next interaction, just put it out of my head when think about it. I generally don't like doing that because I want you guys to get into flow with it. I want you guys to be kind of stupid because it's a frat boy scientist dichotomy. When you're out, you're a frat boy, turn your brain off, stop thinking so much, work on maybe one or two things that are going to get you a lot of progress in a shorter period of time, or a bottleneck. And then